Just arrived here in the Alabama hills, and I have never seen anything like this place before. It's so cool, all the rock formations, and you got the amazing views of the mountains to the west with Mount Whitney back there. And as a photographer, you could just spend like years and years here exploring all the little nooks and crannies, and you just never get bored. I've only got 24 hours here, at least for this stop. I will come back obviously in the near future because it's just awesome here, but I've really only got this evening, tonight, and tomorrow morning. So right now it's about 3:47, so not great light for photography at this point, and in order to maximize my time here, I figure I'll drive around now and do a bit of location scouting so that when it actually comes time to shoot, I'll know pretty much exactly where to be when. So with that, let's get right to it. Alright, I'd say that went pretty well. It's about 5:30 now. Didn't end up finding a very good sunset shot, but I'll be back here another time. Can always grab one then. But I've got 2 shots planned for the night and then 1 for sunrise, so hopefully at least a couple of them work out. But in the meantime, just gonna grab some dinner. Good dinner. Time to go and head towards the first shot location. So for this first shot, it's not going to be a regular photo. So basically what I've got in mind is there's this really pretty part of the section of the dirt road that just leads you right up into the cool rocks, and then you got the mountains in the background. And so basically what this is going to be is like a video / time-lapse. So I'm going to take a video of myself driving back down the road when it's still fairly light out, like basically as soon as I can. And then I'm going to take a time-lapse once it's totally dark and use the moonlight to illuminate the surroundings. And then there'll still be a few stars that you can see in the sky. And so I'll basically blend those two together. So one shot of me will be driving along the road, and the other will be the stars moving across the sky above the mountains. If that's kind of confusing, I've done this once before, kayaking on a lake in Grand Teton National Park. Here's what that looked like. So basically just going for the same kind of effect with that video in the foreground and the time-lapse in the background. But better go set it up quickly because the light is fading. So the reason you gotta shoot the video so early and then wait until much later to do the time-lapse is because, yes, the camera can shoot in pretty low light. It can shoot in the middle of the night and still be okay. There will be a little bit of grain, but you can see stuff. But with video, there's basically this thing called the 180 degree shutter rule, I think. And so if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, which is kind of the standard, it means that you're gonna want your shutter speed of each frame to be at 1/48 of a second. So basically half that time. And this camera doesn't have 1/48, it has 1/50th, which is closest. But it's nowhere near, 30 seconds like you could shoot in the middle of the night. So because you have to keep that shutter speed pretty fast, you have to shoot when it's still light out. So right now I've got the camera on video mode, shooting at ISO 3200, f4, and 1/40th of a second. So cheating that 180 degree shutter rule just a bit to let in a little more light. ISO 3200 will be a bit noisy, but shouldn't be too terrible. And f4 is the widest aperture this lens will go. So shooting at 28 millimeters. And Better go hop in the car before it gets too dark. Alright, so now that that's done, we gotta wait until true nighttime, which is at 7:40 tonight. Right now it is 6:58, so in about 40 minutes, I'll go ahead and start the time lapse. So the challenge with shooting the time lapse is that, as you can obviously tell, this whole sort of video time-lapse thing is shot in the middle of the road, and because we probably need to keep the time-lapse running for about 40 minutes to an hour, it's very likely that within that time a car would come by and I would have to move the camera. So ideally I would have the exact same frame as the video, but I'm gonna have to adjust it slightly, move a bit off the road, and also move out of the way so that no headlights will get into the camera lens and then ruin the shot. So I've got the camera set up here now, moved a little bit off the road and out of the way of any headlights. Shooting at 10 seconds, 3200 ISO and f4. So the 3200 and f4 are the same as the video settings, but because I'm shooting photos now to make the time lapse, I can make the shutter speed much longer. So here's what one of the raw files looks like. You can see I'm kind of going for the same framing, but just getting a little bit more of the sky in there. And it's actually pretty cool. You can see some of the lights of hikers and climbers high up there on Mount Whitney. So I think I want about 10 seconds of this, which means I need to shoot 240 frames. I'm going 10 seconds per frame and then 15-second intervals, so 5 seconds in between, 4 shots per minute. So I need to run this for an hour. Alright, time lapse is finished now. Definitely made the right choice to not be on the road because there was one car that came by while the time lapse was running. So, however this all turned out, here it is. On to photo number 2 now. So for this next shot, it's just going to be a regular photo, unlike the last one. And while I was scouting this afternoon, just picked out a nice looking rock formation that I made sure I could climb to the top of so that I can just kind of add myself in there as a nice little subject. And still using the moonlight to my advantage so that it can help illuminate the rocks, and I can reduce the ISO and therefore reduce a lot of the noise in the photo. And really the only thing special technique-wise about this shot is I'm going to be taking 2 photos, one focused at about infinity so that I get the stars and myself on top of the rock all in focus, and then the other focused at about 3, 4, maybe 5 feet, just to get the rocks that are closer to the camera in focus. Blend those 2 shots together, and that way everything in the frame is going to be in focus. That should just about do it for the night photos. So next shot I have in mind is at sunrise, so I'll see you guys in a few hours. Alright, it's about 6:25 now. Sunrise is going to be in about 40 minutes. And I'm just going to walk over to a nice little arch that kind of frames up Mount Whitney. And we'll hopefully just catch some nice pink light on the top of the mountain. There are a couple other photographers out here now. Definitely a popular spot. So you always just have to hope that you aren't ruining other people's shots and they aren't getting in the way of yours. See what we can find here. Say that definitely went pretty well. I just ended up shooting a time lapse, even though I was just going for really one still frame. That way I have both, and I can always just choose one of the frames from the time lapse as kind of my still shot. Settings were 1/60th of a second, ISO 100, and f8. And I was just shooting at 1 second intervals, which is pretty fast. You know, camera's just firing away, but the sun really flies down the mountain pretty fast, so you want to try to capture all of that nice motion as the light gets closer and closer to the valley. For the composition, just had the arch nicely framing Mount Whitney in the background, and pretty happy with it. Here's both the still shot and time lapse. Now gotta go drive down to LA to visit my girlfriend Millie at school. So just gonna be taking a short break from photography for a couple days. But on Monday we're gonna be coming right back up here to go hike up Mount Whitney, weather permitting. So that'll be the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.